quickly addressed, as you've seen happen this week, and that's why it's so important that where things of this nature occur, it's important that I provide that reassurance that these things are addressed, and I think for all leaders to do the same thing. The vaccination program could not be more important to Australia's future, and as we continue to roll it out, where there are things that are learned in the early phases, they will be applied to ensure the most important thing, and that is the safety of Australians and the safety of this vaccine.
And many people here have, and to get cancelled on at the last minute, we've seen more cases of it today in Sydney and Victoria and Brisbane as well. That's very anxiety-inducing for our frail Australians.
90 aged care facilities have already had the vaccinations. And there'll be more, and the Health Minister will update on when we get to those numbers. We're in day 4 of a 9-month program, and each day as that rolls out, it'll continue to improve. We said it'd start slow and it would get to a pace and a scale, and that's exactly where we're heading. So I would say to those families to not be anxious about that in the early phases, if there are logistical issues that arise with the program, they'll be quickly addressed, and then they'll soon be followed up, and the vaccinations will arise, and over the course of a number of days, if necessary, if it takes that long, then that'll be rectified. People are working hard to deliver this on the ground. This is mobilising quite a national effort. It's mobilising a state and territory effort as well, and that's why I'm absolutely confident that as we go from day to day, the lessons of each day will only make the system better, more improved, but at all times, safety is the paramount issue.
Have you spoken to Phil?
You're talking about the respect at work?
Yeah.
Respect at work. Do you want to address that, Rose? Yeah, well, I have to hear that.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. The Sex Discrimination Commissioner's report, Respect at Work, is a groundbreaking piece of work. In the Women's Economic Security Statement, which was released in October last year, we began the implementation process of a number of those recommendations, particularly including the establishment of the Respect at Work Council, which will be chaired by the Sex Discrimination Commissioner herself. The recommendations across, I think there are 55 of them, across a broad range of areas, cover government, they cover business, they cover industry, they cover state and territory authorities, and a number of regulatory agencies, both Commonwealth and state and territory. The Attorney-General, who has responsibility for the implementation of the report, is working through that process. Amanda Stoker has now taken on responsibility as the newly appointed Assistant Minister, for the bringing together of all of those bodies in the recommendations as they're set out in the Respect at Work report, and we look forward to making the government response as soon as possible.
Should more have been done than acting on 4 or 55?
Well, I think the Women's Economic Security Statement actually covers 9 of those recommendations, and they are the ones which the Commonwealth was able to respond to in the context of the budget and the WES itself. The rest, as I say, are very multi-layered. This is a whole of Australia workplace issue. We don't need to be reminded, but we have been reminded very, very acutely in the last 2 weeks of the importance of the work that has been done by the Sex Discrimination Commissioner. An unsafe workplace is unsafe for everyone. Nobody should have to work in that environment, and we are very focused on bringing those recommendations together and implementing them through the government reporting process.
Gatchin's spoken to your office about his report. Has he given you an indication of when it's going to be finalised, whether you're going to share those results?
Oh, I can give you the same answer I gave to the House yesterday. It was the same questions. No, I don't have a firm timing on when that report. I expect it to be provided to me as the earliest possible opportunity, and yes, he has been making engagements with my office to follow up those matters, and when I receive that report, I can report further.
Pfizer's given some updated information on cold storage for their vials.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to them, or are you across those details?
Yeah, I am. Look, this is potentially exciting news. There's been a approval for Pfizer for cold storage, which, as we know, has to be under the prior approval at, I think, sub 71 degrees. And as part of our contracts with Pfizer, that included dealing with the cold chain logistics for the delivery of those doses. Now, they're saying that can now be done at a refrigerated temperature, as I understand it. Now, our approval to use the Pfizer vaccine in Australia is not based on federal approvals in the United States or in Europe or anywhere else. It's provided by the Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration. Now, I'm aware today the Minister for Health has been in contact with Professor Scott about that matter, and of course the TGA will consider that at the earliest possible opportunity, and has asked Pfizer to bring forward what has been provided on that so they can consider it. And in doing so, I'd remind you, because it goes to my earlier comments, I remember Professor Scott saying that having approved a vaccine, he said the work has just begun, it hasn't concluded. And what we're learning with the vaccine and the vaccination rollout is there is always things to add, there is always things to learn from, and there is new science, there is new findings. We're already seeing, whether it's the United Kingdom or Europe or Israel or the United States, we're seeing some very, very positive results, which is improving our level of confidence, not reducing it. And so that's why just focusing on the day-to-day tasks of the vaccination is what my government is focused on. It's what the state governments are focused on. It's what the health and medical industry is focused on, to just continue to do it safely. And every piece of new information we can gain to improve that is very, very welcome. But I just want to assure Australians that the doses of vaccine that are provided in Australia are done on the basis of Australia's medical experts approving those vaccines, and not just their chemistry, but their manufacturing as well, and how that is done. And so Professor Scott is the same head of the TGA that approves those vaccines, that approves the vaccines that we take our children to, and we trust them to provide those vaccines.
The government believes that it won this round of digital giants first Australian government, and is the legislation really worth it now that we've got deals being struck outside of the media code? And what industry is next now that media is out of the way to make these tech giants, as you say, pay their fair share?
Well, you know, Australia under my government always stands up for itself. We always do that. We have a great and strong belief in Australia's sovereignty, and where if we think that is being compromised or under challenge, then I can assure you my government will always step up. Now, in this case, it's been an issue we've been involved in for some time, whether it's getting to pay more tax, their fair share of their tax, whether it's ensuring that the rules that exist in the digital world are as strong as those exist in the physical world. And that's everything from e-safety, ensuring that our vulnerable Australians, particularly children, are not exposed to violent and sexual content, ensuring that terrorist incitement content is dealt with. We have led the charge on all of these issues, as we indeed have with the big global tech giants when it comes to not paying Australian news services what they should be paid to support our independent media sector. The code was critical to ensuring that the arrangements that have now been struck between the global tech giants and those media companies so Australians can have a free media, that was essential for that. But, you know, my answer to the broader question is, what I want in the digital world is I want the rules there, the safety there, the protections that are there that exist in the real world, I want that to exist in the digital world. Global tech giants, you know, they're changing the world, but we can't let them run the world. You know, people in free societies like Australia who go to ballot boxes and who go and they vote, now, that's who should run the world. The people and citizens of the nations of the world, not big global tech giants. They produce amazing technology that does amazing things. We've seen the impact of technology here in this very place, and it's exciting. But at the end of the day, all of these things must be accountable to sovereign elected governments, which means that at the end of the day, Australians should be in charge.
The Aged Care Royal Commission has officially been handed down. I don't know if you've had time to be briefed on it yet, but have you, or what do you expect?
Well, I called the Royal Commission into aged care as one of my first acts of Prime Minister because I was deeply distressed at many of the things that had been reported to me. And having been a Member of Parliament for some time and worked in my own local community, aware of the great challenges that were facing that sector. I said at the time of calling the Royal Commission that above all, we needed to establish a culture of respect for older Australians in both how we provide care and how they live through that portion of their lives. Because fundamentally, many problems can stem from a lack of that respect. So I called the Royal Commission knowing full well that it would be candid, that it would provide a very raw advice to governments and to all Australians and to state governments as well, all of us where we have responsibilities, but obviously the federal government has the primary responsibility here. So I did that because I wanted to know. And so I expect to receive a copy of that report today, and I will spend the weekend working through that carefully. And I will be, together with the Health Minister and the Aged Care Services Minister, providing an interim response soon after. And, of course, the substantive response, which I have pledged on behalf of my government, that will come as part of the budget process this year. Its timing, I think, is well placed to ensure that we can incorporate that in our response in this year's budget. But I will say, as the Royal Commission has gone on, the government has not sat idle. When I came to the job of Prime Minister, we were investing an extra $1 billion every single year in aged care. We're now investing an additional $1.5 billion every year in aged care and out over the forward estimates. We have tripled the number of in-home aged care places. And in fact, right now, the number of in-home aged care places has been extended from our most recent announcement in December, is rolling out at an extra 1,200 a week. 1,200 a week. The Aged Care Quality Commission, oversight, ensuring that people are safe and protected, that their rights are respected, that they are respected. That is why I called the Royal Commission. This Royal Commission, I think, will identify serious and disturbing issues that are a product of decades. And it's important that I think the government is then supported by the Parliament right across all parties, and we get on with the things that we need to do to address the recommendations that are put to government. So I look forward to hopefully a bipartisan, a multi-partisan approach to us addressing those issues. And this issue is about our family members, it's about individual Australians. And the way we deal with this, it has to be beyond politics. We have to focus on getting the solutions right. Having called the Royal Commission, I'm committed to addressing the many issues that I'm sure will be raised in it. Anyway, thank you all very much. Good to be with you.